Hey, welcome to another episode of Accounting Insiders. My name is Gary Dehart. I'm the publisher of Insightful Accountant and the host of Accounting Insiders. And today I've got Tim Grant with, I forgot your company name. What's the company name? I lost
Business
my cheat
solution
sheet.
the business
Business
solution providers.
Solutions Providers.
Yeah,
Give me a little bit about the history of the company, kind of where you came from, how long have you been around, where'd you come from, what are you doing now, and where do you see where you're headed?
sure. Well, we really evolved. I started the business in 2003, sole proprietor, became an LLC in 2007, and became incorporated in 2015. We've grown. We still only have six people on staff now. But we've gone through all the gyrations of initially doing accounting generalist work, then later on specifically exclusively with QuickBooks, and then third-party inventory and manufacturing add-on products that worked with QuickBooks. And then today we work with three primary products in the manufacturing and inventory world. That includes Acumatica ERP, which is a full body ERP system,
Okay.
MRP Easy, which is an online manufacturing program that works with QuickBooks Online, and MySys Manufacturing, which is a desktop manufacturing program that works with QuickBooks.
Okay. How did you get into that manufacturing and inventory? Did you kind of fall into it, or did you take a survey of the market and say, this is a place we can do a really good job in and be a expert at?
Well, it's really kind of funny, Gary, because about after being in business for about 10 years, I was getting a little jaded on just working in the accounting world and kind of the same types of clients. And the funny thing was, I attended a Woodard conference,
Yeah.
Scaling New Heights, and I attended one of the sessions there. I was actually by Acumatica, Activate, and they did a session on inventory systems and how it integrated with QuickBooks. And two things kind of surprised me right at that point when I was attending that session. One, how advanced the software was in terms of the technology has really grown, and the capabilities to help small and mid-sized businesses, in that case, manage their inventory. The other thing that kind of left an impression on me was there was only 4 other people out of this whole conference of 1,200 people who were
Right.
attending that session.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was like, well, who's servicing, that
Exactly.
audience? There's got to be a niche there. And I literally thought about it on the plane ride home. And by the time I got back to my office, I said, that's where I'm going to plant my flag. And that was about 12 years ago. Invested enormous amount of time working, finding those vendors, getting them to give us their software so that we could learn their software. Read a ton of books on inventory management, manufacturing, what I didn't already know from being a prior controller, and just put it all together, and then told people this is what we do, and the clients started coming.
Great. So were you a controller for a manufacturing business?
Yes, right
Okay.
prior to 2003 and starting the business. Yeah.
Okay. And then, well, what caused you to leave from that? Like, what did you want to go the entrepreneurial route, or just looking for a change, or how'd you end up on the public side?
Oh, absolutely. It's uh I had an entrepreneurial bent. I mean, ever since I was in school. When I finished my undergraduate in international business, I went right into grad school. And I remember talking to a counselor, and they said, "Well, what do you want your emphasis to be in grad school?" And I said, at that time, I said international business. And he goes, no, 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 you don't want to do that, because you're just going to get a lot of the same instructors, a lot of the same material. And I had to really think about it. And this was at a time when the economy wasn't doing too well. And I looked around, and my IT friends were the other area that I was interested in, weren't working. They were mostly unemployed. But I looked at accounting, and I thought, well, there's a field that I can get into and gravitate to, but I never really wanted to be a CPA. I wasn't that, I didn't want to do taxes at all. Being a CPA is a nice, credential to have, and people who attain it is certainly, worth it. But it just wasn't. I didn't find that as attractive as the IT side as well. So just kind of fell into it, and as controller for a while, and then I always wanted to run my own business, and got the opportunity.
That's great. And then, so just for a terminology clarification. So when we
Sure.
say inventory and manufacturing, in your world, is inventory a supply item used in manufacturing, or are you looking at both sides of that, where it could be inventory for a business that's selling X product?
Yeah, it's two ways to look at it. When we started the shift in the direction of our business 12 years ago, I mainly focused on just inventory. There is a lot to learn around both the lingo and processes and capabilities in the inventory world.
Yeah.
But it is distinctly different from manufacturing. And that is where people get it confused, because they kind of put together both the softwares into the same categories.
Mhm.
And that's really a big mistake. A lot of times manufacturing will have a warehouse management or an inventory management component to it. But depending upon the structure of the business, a client shouldn't waste their time looking at the wrong category of business, depending on what it is they're trying to do. QuickBooks for a long time, QuickBooks Enterprise anyway, said, it was a inventory and manufacturing edition. Well, it's okay for a very light assembler and inventory companies with limited inventory nuances, I call them. And QuickBooks might be fine for you. But if you're looking at really doing manufacturing, then you're tracking, production costs and workstations, and you need production schedules, and you need so much more in a manufacturing program than you'll ever get out of an inventory program.
Right. Yeah. Murph's talked me through some of his clients that are in that, kind of do a lot of that. I don't know if you really call it work in progress, but tracking from, all the way down to the nuts and bolts, right, of what went into a finished product.
Yeah.
And so did you, the software solutions that you have now, did you get to those by proactively seeking them out to solve a problem that you had, or did you run across them at a trade show, or how did you end up working with, you said it was Acumatica, MRP, Easy, and
Misys.
Misys, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How'd you end up with them?
Misys, on my journey in starting my business, I guess it was around 2006 that I ran across Fishbowl and Misys. Fishbowl, everybody knows, the big dog for inventory, right? Connects to QuickBooks. And Misys was the manufacturing one, and they promoted it pretty heavily. But there's a lot less manufacturing at that time. There was a lot less manufacturing than there was inventory. So that's it. It kind of just I became a partner, but we didn't have much worker experience with it when everything first started. But that's grown, and that's kind of part of that trend that I'm seeing that I could talk about too, is that I see, and there was a Wall Street Journal article recently, how manufacturing is coming back to North America
Okay.
completely. And so these systems are more in need. About 4 years ago, as we had transitioned to being an inventory and manufacturing implementation provider, I can't remember exactly. Oh yeah, I remember. Oh, I do remember now. I had a client come to me who had produced screws for wood decks in Taiwan, but his business was in New Jersey.
Okay.
And so he had to be able to try to manage this. And he had heard about this product, MRP Easy, and he wanted to know if we could help with it. Well, with limited experience, of course, in the manufacturing world and that product, we jumped in, and in the process together, we learned that product and what it was capable of doing. And then from that, that's the one that we became a partner with, and are one of only two here in the United States that serves that product. And so I think it's a great little manufacturing product for small to mid-sized companies that want to go directly to consumers via a platform, BigCommerce, WooCommerce, Shopify, one of those, and sell their products. And I was really attracted to that market and the clients who were trying to do that. Solves for a lot of problems. And then the third product we just started with about a year ago, that is Acumatica ERP, which is a full body ERP system, competes with NetSuite, SAP, Sage Intacct, all of those, and has a manufacturing edition. It is a full SaaS online product, and it includes its own manufacturing module. So it has everything operationally and financially that a growing small business needs to get into. And so that's we got recruited for that. So that's where that one came from.
Okay. So I guess, so Jeff Siegel,
Yes.
I think he's working with them too, right?
Yes, he is. He is. I saw him at the conference for Acumatica last time. We sat down and had a great conversation.
Yeah. Another friend of mine, a guy named Randy Collins. He's here in Atlanta. He used to be a big Sage reseller. His company is called Strategies Group, and they were really big in Sage, more on the construction side. And I think it's pre-pandemic. So that's so funny that 2 years of the pandemic kind of like seems like it was a couple of months, but when you really think about it, it's like, wow, that's like 2 years, right? 2 years of our lives. But I think probably maybe 2 years prior to the pandemic. So he's probably 4 or 5 years into working with Acumatica, but more again on the construction side.
Okay.
So if you ever need anybody in construction, let me know. I can connect you with him too.
That would be actually great, because that's of the 4 editions that they have, distribution and manufacturing we do. Commerce, I hope to do someday once we get to that point. And then construction, we have kind of ignored, because that's the one that I understand how involved that gets. Yeah. And so I don't have the human resources to manage that. So that would actually be good.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that after this. And then, so that actually brings up a little bit of another question. So, and it kind of goes back to something you said early on about getting kind of into the niche, right? So you embrace the niche, and then you had to spend a lot of time. And I'm asking this more kind of for the listener of like, okay, let's decide I'm doing this. I'm kind of have an interest in, we'll use manufacturing since that's the process since that's the world you're in, but sure. They have an interest in manufacturing. What do I have to be prepared to actually do to get into and learn kind of manufacturing, to where I can get, where I can really go to a client and have a reasonable conversation that I actually know what I'm talking about? That's a big question, I guess.
Yeah.
18 years,
Yeah.
And maybe that's the wrong question. Maybe what I'm really trying to get to is the thought process of embracing a niche, and what do I really need to know going into a niche, whether it's manufacturing or retail or what have you.
Yeah. Well, I guess my first advice would be stop thinking about it and just do it.
There you go.
Because I think that was, there's a big fear when you think about going into a niche, because you think, Well, as a generalist, everybody's going to need me, but in a niche, I've got to reach out and find those specific customers, who need exactly what I have. And you may not know what the audience is. When I went into inventory, started with inventory, I didn't have a lot of previous prospects come to me and say, would you help me do my inventory? I had a few, but I didn't have that many. I didn't do outreach for that area. It wasn't my area. But it was really that day in my office when I got back from that conference that I said, and everything had led up to it, that I needed to find a niche. I needed to find a niche because I was just a little bit burnt out on being a generalist, where you have to kind of know everything anyway.
Right.
And as a generalist, you're competing with everybody else. It's like being a dentist. I mean, you're competing with the dentist down the block in the view of the consumer.
Sure.
So having a niche is so much better. And I learned that right away, because once I planted that flag and I told people, I even put in the signature block on my email that we supported these inventory products. People started referring people to us, even though they didn't know how good or bad an inventory specialist we were. They were at least referring us. And the more of those clients that we got, and I'll admit those first couple were, sweating on the brow, up at night, worried to death you're going to figure it out 15 minutes ahead of the client.
Right.
It is some of the best learning experiences we could have had in getting there. But if
Right.
I had just kept sitting back and thinking about it, I never would have taken that step.
Yeah. So it's like kind of the core of entrepreneurship, right? It's like, you just have to do it. Jump in, figure it out. And I like the way you said it, stop thinking and just do it, right? Just
Don't let the fear overtake you.
right. Because you can think it to death, right?
Yeah.
I think we all can do that in a lot of, actually, before we hopped on, I was talking to my wife. She's a teacher, teaches third grade, but now she's actually doing some other work at the school, and she's getting a lot of exposure to things so they've started a new position, and she's helping this lady kind of build this new position out. And so there's not a lot of structure in place. They're just having to kind of learn it and make it as they go. And that's almost exactly what I said to her. It's like, you have to really think like an entrepreneur, because you guys are building this program. You're building everything out for it. And, there's things you don't know, but you just have to dive in and learn it. Right. And you're going to fail at sometimes, but that's just part of the process.
And, I was also very lucky. Sorry to leave your view there. But I was very lucky, and I'm a big reader. I read probably a book every 10 days.
Wow.
I'm always reading. But one of the books that I picked up was this one called Inventory Accuracy. People, Processes, and Technology by David Piasecki. This is back when I was getting into the whole inventory world, and I said, I need to research this. And I was lucky because this particular book was extremely helpful in preparing us. Even something like inventory, you have to understand the language, you have to understand processes, you have to understand prerequisites. You can't do A until you do B, or can't do B till you do A. And it got, I spent just tons of time, and that's what the listeners here have to consider, is that, you're going to have to do a lot of homework. You're going to have to fill in the gaps of what you don't know in order to serve that audience.
Yep.
But the other thing is, you got to have a passion for it. I chose that inventory route, and then later to also include manufacturing, because it interests me. I want to know this stuff. And as the more I got into it, the more I realized what little I did know. It just goes on and on and on. And now with technology and e-commerce and, these different platforms, I mean, it is never ending.
Right.
As what what is capable and what you can learn. You don't have to learn it all, but you have to have a basic understanding.
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking, before we started, just the whole manufacturing too. To me, I love seeing how things are made. It truly is fascinating, especially when it's something like, I don't know, you use it every day, or there's so much we take for granted, right? Because buy it on Amazon and it shows up and you use it.
Yeah. It's like we were talking about that 100-year-old fishing
Right.
line company we have. You wouldn't think fishing line was so hard to produce,
Right.
but there's a whole process to it.
Yeah. And do they do braided line? Do you
Yes.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen the braiding machines when they're running?
No, I haven't seen
Yeah,
it. I haven't been on
textile,
site to that one.
yeah,
Yeah.
that textile show I mentioned,
Yeah.
watching those braiding machines is really cool how they work. You're like, I can't even wrap my head around how it functions, right? But
Right.
so
Yeah.
so let's talk for a minute, and then we'll probably wrap up. But so trade shows, a trade show, Scaling New Heights, is what really got you into your niche. So what other shows? One, do you recommend shows? I think I know the answer. Two, what other shows do you find useful in the space, or where do you invest your time and money event wise?
Um, it varies quite a bit. Um, uh, it, Woodard, I go every year. I had to miss this last year, but I go to that one. I go to, and different organizations that I'm a part of, I kind of combine this. There's a Institute of Management Accountants, the IMAs, out there, and they have a conference every year. There is the Association of Supply Chain Management that has a conference. They're the International Supply Chain
Okay.
Organization. They have a conference in Chicago each year. There's a local one here called NCET, which is basically Nevada Center for Education and Training. It's all around technology and businesses, and but they're local here to Northern Nevada. So I try to get into ones where I'm. In Dreamforce. I used to go to that one as well in San Francisco. Salesforce is
Right.
one, because it was also very heavy. Salesforce, people don't think about it. It's really a platform, and then you have all these third-party programs that support it as well. It's fascinating if you've never been to one, but also heavy on technology. So I'm going to conferences where because it's the people that run things. It's not just the software, it's not just the machines, it's the people that run it. And if you want to really, if you want to get into any niche, you got to go where the people are. You've got to listen to what they're talking about and what's important. My first ASCM, the supply chain conference that I went to, was it's one thing to really have the education and the training. It's another to see the people who are actively working in the industry and where they're headed, where their tools are going, and what they're talking about. So I find that part every bit as much interesting as what's the latest gizmo
Right.
that's out there.
Yeah. So then where does your firm head then? So you're deep into manufacturing inventory. Is that what you're sticking with in the future, or will you add like the construction side of Acumatica? What do you think? What's in the cards?
Well, up until really about 4 years ago, we had focused quite heavily on the third-party programs that integrate with QuickBooks on the back end.
No.
Intuit won't admit this, but everybody's talking about how desktop is dying off, or will be killed off at some point.
Right.
It you know, most of those programs that I worked with, the Fish Bowls, the Activates, and even MISIS to a degree, are all desktop based primarily. That's where their client base is, and that's where they live. I have seen the trend only accelerating the last few years to where everything is online. And that's why I went with signed up with Acumatica about a year ago. That's why I found it attractive. It's completely online SaaS product. If you've got an internet, you've got connection, and
Right.
that is really where we're taking our business, because I think you know, the capabilities are increasing, the prices are coming down to where you know, like Acumatica for the small business edition, a client can get it for less than $1,000 a month, a
Oh,
full
wow.
ERP system. You know, so you know, I see that's where the future is headed. I don't see. I'm um, how do I say it? I don't agree with Murph and some other people that all you should do is get better at your technology stack. I think the average small business client, my experience was they were getting to the point where they might have QuickBooks Online, but if you've got 15 programs that you need to connect to it to make your whole environment work, small business owners are saying, we're not going to invest the resources to do that. And I don't see how they can keep that up. So that's why we're putting our efforts into like Acumatica, which is more of a full finance operations system, still needs some add-ons to extend some capabilities to it, but it's the core. It's where people are going to work every day. And I see that's where the trend of small to medium-sized business is going to go.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to share that you thought about just when we kind of booked us?
You know, just one kind of advice to people who are looking for a niche or to expand their business. I heard this just recently, and it really solidifies a business owner's thinking and what they need to do, is that you can have all the motivation in the world to do something, but if you don't have the discipline to do it, it's not going to happen. And that's a reality. So it's like going to the gym. You can be motivated all you want to go to the gym, and everybody knows, you know, most people will lose that motivation because they
Right.
don't have the discipline to keep it up. And one personal note about me is, about a year and a half ago, I got on the scale one day and I hit 230 pounds. And I said, that's too much. I don't want that.
No mas.
So I went out and got a trainer, and I needed a trainer to keep me responsible, hold me responsible. And I did that. And today I'm down to 203 pounds.
Awesome.
I can deadlift 255 pounds, and I can push a sled for 200 pounds.
That's awesome.
And I'm in great shape.
Yeah.
And it's because I needed help to find the discipline to do it. I had all the motivation to want to get in shape, but you have to, you can apply that in the business world and your company and whatever you're doing, is that if you let the discipline slide, the motivation isn't going to carry you.
Yeah. I think the discipline and that accountability that comes from having a trainer too, right?
Right.
He's there, he or she, they're there on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever your time slot is, and they're going to charge you whether you show up or not, right? So,
Right.
I'm paying, I may as well go. right? And
Right.
it's not like $2, right? So it's an
Right.
investment. Now, do you do that from the business standpoint? Do you have like a coach from the business side?
Twice over the years, I've had business coaches. Yeah,
Okay.
for about a year and a half.
Mhm.
But a business coach too, and it's kind of like the trainer, I guess,
Yeah.
is that you realize you get to a point where, hey, they're kind of telling me the same thing week over week over week.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to just get out there and do it, what they're trying
Yeah.
to tell me that I need to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so in both cases, I was like, okay, that helped. Now I need to try to do this on my own for a while. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do now. I've incorporated uh, softwares that I use in my business that kind of force me and hold me accountable to get things done.
Gotcha.
It's like somebody recommended about a year ago, might have been Murph, I don't know, but somebody said always clear out your inbox at the end of the day, by the
Mhm.
end of the day. And I do that. And that one little thing has forced me to, they say that with emails, you do one of three things. You either delete it, you file it, or you act on it. And
Right.
that's what I do.
That goes to discipline. I'm not that disciplined with my inbox. I need to be because it does stuff does back up, right? And then you miss things
Right.
and
You
it piles
reread
up.
things. That's
Yes.
what drove me crazy.
Wastes a lot of
I
time.
remember I'd have like 100 emails in my inbox and I just keep bouncing back and forth. Okay, whack-a-mole, which one am I gonna
Right.
work on now? And I
Yeah.
just realized how much time I was wasting doing that. And I said, okay, I'm gonna follow that advice and do it.
Yeah. So let me ask one more, and that is, and we talked about a
Sure.
little bit prior to going live. Um, well, we didn't talk specifically about social media, but we did talk about videos and your showing using video to show products. So I'm going to lump video, social media, kind of together. How do you guys manage that?
It's something you have to dedicate time and energy to.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not so I'm very lackadaisical on the social media presence in terms of like Facebook and um, um, everything I could be doing in terms of LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Unfortunately, I'm like a member of a lot of groups that I haven't checked in a long time, and I should do more of that. But when it comes to the videos, I really enjoy doing those. I like sharing information, so a lot of what we do are more educational, how-to kind of videos. Although some of them are process oriented as well, and I think those really help the end users to get something out of the system. And I started that 10 years ago, simply by purchasing Camtasia, which
Yeah.
is a video editing program. It's only a couple of $100s. You do have to invest a little time in learning tips and tricks and how it works, but it's really not that complicated. And it's kind of fun because you can get creative with them. You can add effects and music and all sort of things. You're telling a story and you're trying to get an idea across. And that in itself is rather rewarding. And so we've posted quite a few MRP Easy videos. But prior to that, we were posted a lot of QuickBooks videos. We've done some MRP Easy videos. We're going to do some Acumatica videos.
Mhm.
But it's something where I try to dedicate at some time each week, either whether it's script building or doing a trial on a video to do that, or the post production on the video. But I find it real rewarding, and in some cases, it does lead to lead generation.
Right. And where is that? Like, where do those sit? Do you just sit them on YouTube
Yeah,
under the company name, or how do people find that?
I have two channels. One is MRP Easy, um, and the other is you're putting me on the spot, Gary. I have links to them.
Right. That's
QuickBooks Inventory, QB Inventory, I think is the other one.
okay.
Look those up for the channels, and you'll find me, or look up my name and Tim Grant, and you'll probably find me on there.
Yeah. And then if somebody wanted to reach out to you, because you did tell me prior to going live here, you work kind of two ways, right? And correct me if I'm wrong. You work direct with end clients, but then you also have a network, or you certainly take referrals from other accounting firms that run across clients who have a special need in inventory or manufacturing that they just can't or don't want to service. They could refer over to you. Am I right on those two things?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. We work with a lot, the end clients, we get referrals from them. A lot of times, but a lot of times, as part of going to those conferences, it's part of just outreach, the videos, all of it. When you're doing a niche, it's the opposite problem of being a generalist. You've got to find out those specific clients, that are looking for wood screws from Taiwan, and how do they manufacture those? So you have to be out there. It's hard to be an introvert and either run a business or try to be in the niche kind of business. You have to really reach out there and make connections.
Right.
And that's what we do. We talk to a lot of accountants who refer us, and then we pick up the clients from there, and hopefully the clients are talking to the accountants, and we get more feedback, and it's a feedback loop.
Right.
That's how you build a niche business. Is you do a good job for a few people, and then a few people talk to a few more people, and you've got a community. And I like to brag that I spend very little on advertising because I don't have to now after
Right.
having done this for 10 years.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And so people can find you on YouTube, search Tim Grant, or do you want people to
Business
email
solution
you?
providers.
Businesssolutionsproviders.com.
Solution providers. Yeah.
Solu-
No, we're at businesssp.com. So that's 3 S's and a P like in Papa at the end.
Okay.
.com.
Okay. They can find you there. All right. Well, great. Well, I certainly appreciate you taking some time to join us on Accounting Insiders, and hopefully you and I should probably talk offline and just see because as I mentioned before, I'd really like to kind of get some niche days going, right? To where we're going to really stay on top of what's happening in these various niches. And you obviously are pretty well versed in that inventory and manufacturing. So
Yeah.
love to pick your brain further.
Okay.
And
Call me
I'll
anytime.
certainly, yep, absolutely. And I'll connect you with Randy Collins from Strategies Group as well. So,
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.